And we're live. Hello and welcome to Real Talk. I am Beverly Briggs, your host. And tonight with me, once again, is Dr. Clark, Dr. Edward Clark, who is a cognitive behavioral therapist, a cognitive therapist, yeah. And tonight we are going to be speaking about the effects of words or the effects words have on us. Sorry, the effects words have on us. Now, words affect our thoughts. Our thoughts affect our emotions. Our emotions affect our action. Our action foster habits, and our habits reveal our character. I'd say it once again. Words affect our thoughts. Thoughts affects our emotions. Our emotions affects our actions, and our actions foster habits. Habits reveals our character. It is said, as a man thinketh,
So,
so is he. And we also heard life and death is in the power of the tongue.
mm,
What we say has a great effect on ourselves and on the persons that are in our company. There's another text that says, and we overcome by the blood of the Lamb and the word of the testimony. Now, our word is so powerful that it can affect our blood, our DNA. And this is what contributes to our character. And this is what we are going to speak about tonight, the effect words have on us. Now, we have been talking about abuse, different accounts of abuse. We spoke of domestic violence, which is physical abuse. We spoke of emotional abuse. And tonight we will be speaking about verbal abuse, and not just about abuse, but we want to discuss how important it is for us to understand how to use our words so that we can have a positive outcome on our life and on the lives of persons that is in our company. Christine Brooke is supposed to join us tonight. I can't wait for her to join us. I have missed her the last session, and I'm looking forward for her joining us. So, Doc,
yes, ma'am.
tonight we are talking about the effect words have on us. So, you are the therapist who deals with words and thinking and thoughts. So, this is
Yeah.
your field. So, you know, tell us something tonight.
Okay. First of all, I would like to say good evening, everyone who has tuned into this real talk session. And we have been talking on various topics. And last week we talked about emotional abuse. And today we're going to talk about one form of emotional abuse, which we categorize as verbal abuse.
Mm-hmm.
And the subtlety of verbal abuse is one of the elements of emotional abuse that's normally missed. You know, when we talk about abuse, we are so in tune to the physical abuse. We can see bruises on the outside, we can see blood, we can see, damage to one's physical state, and that horrifies, and that gives us a urge to want to do something about it. It gets to the emergency room, it gets into the newspaper, it gets all of the publicity that you can think, and it brings out the revulsion that we experience against the physical abuse. But
Mm,
what goes on behind the scenes, we don't get to know about. So we only see the physical, but there's usually the verbal abuse long
mhm,
before the physical abuse. You get it? So the
mhm,
physical abuse is often the at the extreme end of the abuse category. So
hmm,
in most cases, individuals have experienced verbal abuse of one sort or the other, and there are
mhm,
different types, and we're going to talk about that this evening as much as we can. And so I just want to let everyone know that it is not always what you see that hurts. And the thing about it is that you can get over a physical abuse, well, it depends on the extent of it, much quicker
mhm,
than you can get over a verbal abuse. Again, it depends on the extent and how long it's been going on, and the kind of things that have been said. So that the
mhm,
emotional pain lives on long after the physical pain has subsided and you have had some physical recovery. Okay? That pain and hurt continues for weeks and months and years. Okay?
mhm,
So verbal abuse occurs when someone repeatedly uses negative or demeaning words to gain or maintain power and control over someone else. And there are various types of verbal abuse. And uh, as I said, so one of the things that I indicated, I think we touched on it as we were concluding last week. And it's a phrase or it's a word that's called discounting or
mhm,
gaslighting. And really what we were saying is that this usually involves repetitively discounting or dismissing someone's feelings. Okay. For
mhm,
instance, this, for example, someone says to you, you're too sensitive. They say something to you and you have a reaction to it. I said, "What's wrong with you? Why are you so sensitive?" Or they say to you, "Don't be childish." You know, they say something to you, and then when you respond to that, they'll say to you again, like, "Hey, come on, man, have a sense of humor." So they're discounting what you've said, or they're discounting the outcome of an interaction between yourself and them. The other thing that's interesting about verbal abuse is that it normally takes place in in dialogue. You know,
mhm,
yeah, most persons are not around when you get this verbal abuse. Really, would you get it when you're in a crowd of other people, but a crowd of people, but it's more likely to come at you when, you and the other person is together and they feel that, you've done something and they're responding to what you've done. And as we say, they're buffing you up. We have that expression. And so sometimes we get hoofed, and it's all that, and you dismiss it. But hey,
mhm,
it really can have a dramatic impact on you. Um,
mhm,
and sometimes you find that you're saying something, and what your partner does, he questions your version of it. He questions what is obvious, which is so obvious, and when he questions it, you start to doubt yourself. Okay. um and start to deny, well, I don't think that happened. You don't have any proof that that really happened. That's
mhm,
not really what took place. So
mhm.
the partner undermines what you're saying, discredits
Yeah.
what you're saying, and you end up feeling, well, I really don't have a lot of proof, and
Mhm,
he might be right. So you start even questioning yourself and the truth of what you thought was was the reality of the situation. So your reality starts to change. So then we call that gaslighting, then,
Yes.
and you think, so wait, am I losing my memory? I'm sure this happened. I'm sure that took place.
Mm-hmm.
So
Mm-hmm.
that, and then we move on to one called judging.
Mm-hmm.
And this involves repetitive, negative, and judgmental evaluations that really questions one's self-worth, Um, for instance, you're at home and you're complaining about some behavior or something that your partner should have done and he didn't do, or he does repetitively, and then he says to you, look, I don't know how to please you. You're never happy, you know. It's
Mm-hmm.
never enough for you. I go out and I work hard and I come home, and then you harass me by telling me, ask me this and that and that and that. Yeah, you're so negative. You know,
Mm-hmm.
that's why people don't like you because you're such a negative person. You always harass it. So, so now, I mean, so he is actually judging you. He's telling you what something about yourself that you're wondering, but that's not true. Is it that I'm never happy? I'm a happy person. Um,
Mm-hmm.
Discredits the fact that you don't appreciate what he has done and what he is doing for you.
Mm-hmm.
Okay? Remember, he is doing this for you, not for us.
Hmm.
Okay. So you then become the person who demonstrates some ungrateful behavior or attitude towards him for what he
And
is
it's
doing for you.
yeah. And it's vice
And
versa, right, Doc?
yeah, yes, yeah, of course. I mean,
Same
it could be a
or
male to
yeah.
a female, or a female to a
Mm-hmm.
male, yes. And that's why I'm talking about partners or spouses rather than male or female, okay? Because either way.
Right.
And that what you're talking about happens in all types of relationships. It
Mm-hmm.
happens in um, a relationship between yourselves and whoever your partner is. These are the kinds of things that happen, and you start questioning yourself. You start to feel that, yeah, he's probably right. I need to be more grateful for what he's doing. Excuse me, what he's doing for me. And
Hmm.
this is something that people don't really understand. If you're in a relationship with someone, then and there is real love between it, the beneficiaries of anything one partner does is for the total benefit of both of you, and your
Mm-hmm.
family. Okay, so
Mm-hmm.
to be reminded that what he is doing is to benefit you, or what she is doing is to benefit you, is a skewing of the fundamental aspect of the relationship. Okay, and they're judging you because you say you're never happy, which is really often not the truth. That you're miserable, you're always complaining, you're not appreciative, you're so negative. Um, that doesn't mean to discount the fact that some people are negative, okay?
Right.
But there's a way to talk to them and to interact with them that
Right.
doesn't feel less than, okay?
Mm-hmm.
Um, right. So do you want to say something, or should I go on and talk a bit more about others?
Um, and I just want us to go a little bit back to
Yeah.
parenthood, parenting.
Yes.
We can
Yes.
see that we get it wrong from even from the point of parenting. We find that our children is not working as we would like them to work, and we would call them lazy or
Yes.
they're unmotivated. And then we want to know why it is they're so lazy and they're so unmotivated. And because we already proclaimed this in their life over some time, you know, and a lot of times we could give me a sec, please, because my earphone is echoing and it is distracting me. So let me. Yes. So many times we wonder why it is we our children are displaying these negative attributes even when they get older. And we did not realize that we actually spoke them into their lives, uh, because we choose to speak it in a negative way rather than a positive way. And this is also a certain amount of abuse towards a child.
Mhm.
Um, isn't that?
Yes, I think that what I've just mentioned is also applicable to the way that we parent our children.
Mhm,
Um, we load up our children with a lot of um, negative or sometimes abusive statements. I was chatting to someone recently, and what the conversation was comparing one child with another child,
mhm,
and the second child was being reminded, like, and it came in a very subtle way. So the first child is pretty bright and all that sort of thing, and the second child was told that, look, don't you want to be like your sister? Don't you want to
mm,
get raised like your sister? You know, well, if you
mm,
want to get raised like your sister, this is what you have to do. You know,
right.
so and I'm tired telling you this and a lot of these words over and over. So, and by comparing these children and the fact that they have different ambitions and making the second one believe that she somehow has to achieve the same educational status as her sister had a negative effect because the second child said, "Well, I don't want to be like my sister. I don't want to do those things. I don't want to go to that school." But they're
Mhm,
being called um, silly, stupid, or you're not paying enough attention, or you can't focus, but it the way it's said and the context in which it is said has a negative effect on the second child because then the child is pushed back or pushes back and says, well, no, I don't want to do that. I don't want to be like that. I want to do something else. So what you're wanting me to do, I don't want to do that. So they have a pushback against what the parent or parents want them to do. And that creates tension between the parent and the child and causes the child to, even if she had secretly desired it, now to abandon it, and she
mhm,
ends up feeling, that she's being forced to become something that she doesn't really want to be. So it can be quite destroying. Are you still there?
Yes, I'm right here. Give me,
Okay.
I'm letting Christine in.
Okay. All
I'm
right.
adding Christine to the stream. Yes.
Well,
Hi,
Hi,
welcome,
thank you
Christine.
so
Oh
much.
my God, I have missed you. I
I've
have
missed
missed
you
you.
too.
Yes.
Hello, Doctor.
hi, 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 hi. Yeah,
Thank
I was
Yes.
you.
just emotional abuse, and we were talking about verbal abuse, and
Mm-hmm.
we were talking about name calling. And
Mm-hmm.
I was discussing with Beverly about some of the things that parents do to their children
Yeah.
that tends to
Yes.
undermine their sense of self-worth. But I wanted to get back to talking about name calling in the context of relationships.
Mm-hmm.
So this type of verbal abuse involves someone calling someone else something negative or meaning or belittling, such as like, you're so stupid. How many times must I tell you this? I'm tired of telling you doing this. You seem to got something wrong with your brain. Come on, come on. Uh, a child can understand what I'm saying. Why can't you? That's one.
Mhm.
In other words, is an idiot, or you're dumb. Why are you so dumb? How many times must I tell you this? So these are some of the words that we use in name calling, and we, the person who is uttering these remarks, don't they have no idea how damaging those words can be, um, to the other partner. Okay, uh, this happens sometimes with with in the area of in the culinary area. I once had a young lady who had an experience where she uh, she cooked for the family, and she put too much salt. Well, I guess she put too much salt. She put salt in the food, and she didn't know that her mom was very had some intolerance for sodium, for salt. And what so the mom then criticized the cooking and said it was too salty. Who did she expect to eat this food? And she just went on and on and on. And of course, this young woman, I should say, young woman, felt really bad by this criticism, and the criticism went to a point where her mother decides, I'm not eating this food. This is cooked terrible. What kind of man you think would want you cooking like this? And she just took it on to another level. And that impacted that young lady, which she lost confidence in cooking completely. And and subsequently, when she got married, she didn't like cooking because she was always afraid that her husband or her partner would tell her some hurtful words that her mom had told her. And so she tried to avoid it in all kinds of ways, getting home late, coming home with prepared food from the various popular eateries like McDonald's and Kentucky Fried and Burger King. And she would try her best not to be doing too much in the kitchen and make things very simple, and saying, no, no, I look, there's salt on the table. You can put on whatever how much salt you want, but that's not really. You need to put salt in the food, because
Mhm.
to start to eat food that has no salt, if you you're accustomed to eating salt in the food, it can be. You can't be just shushing salt on your food all the time. So it created a problem for her in her relationship, and it was based on the fact that growing up in her family, that she called some of these names. And even when she got married, she still couldn't get over that the pain that she expressed now with her new husband. She couldn't. She didn't want to take the risk of hearing that same statement repeated. So name calling can have immediate and long term impact on the person. Now, just imagine if someone had slapped her, she probably would have gotten over that quicker than 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 the verbal abuse. And that's the thing, as I said earlier, about verbal abuse, is that it is long, impactful, and we just throw words around in a very loose way to each other, to our partners, and without any real understanding of how those words are resonating with the person. It sits here and then it just sinks to the bottom and it stays there. If no one comes and removes it or mitigates it, it sits there and it influences our thinking in the future and or feelings and our behavior, our feelings of insecurity, etc. Yeah, you know. I mean, just imagine someone saying to you, "Look, women are always so emotional," um, and this is something fundamental that you're concerned about. So I said, "Look, oh come on, stop being so emotional." And you think it's really, really important, and you can't as a way to dismiss what was done and not try and fix it. They just say, you're just being too emotional. So let's forget that. Yes. Over to you, ladies.
Christine, you have anything you wanted to say?
A lot, a lot. So, uh, goodness, I think that what I've gathered, Doctor, is,
Mm-hmm.
and also what I just know based on experience and just intuition, is that verbal abuse is deep. It leaves scars that people are sometimes not equipped to deal with because it's so ingrained in their mindset from childhood. It is almost in their subconscious and they wear it as if it is a part of them. They operate subconsciously, believing these things that have been said to them as easily as it is to breathe and to, these systems in our body that work without us thinking. Sometimes when you hear things over and over again, it becomes so easy to believe the
You're
negative things, just
mm-hmm.
like it is easy to breathe or to walk or
Mm,
talk.
Right.
um, and so I think
Mm-hmm.
that it is important that we talk about this. My question would be, how do we flip this script? For me, it is a belief of creating a new mindset. But there are a lot of people that don't know how to create a new mindset with the things that they tell themselves to overcome that subconscious programming that they're so used
Mm-hmm.
to from, whether it be in the home with their parents because their parents didn't know any better, or in a relationship that they felt like this was a loving partner, and now they're facing emotional and verbal abuse, and now it either was their normal as a child, and so they're used to that comfort, or it's something that is not a comfort to them. They don't expect it, but yet they start to internalize that because this is the person that they decided that I love them and they love me.
mm,
How do we, what do you think as a doctor is the best way to break that subconscious programming of these words that people are exposed to? For
all right.
me, it's, faith comes by hearing, and we repeat,
Yes,
and
by the way. Mm-hmm.
affirmations, self
Mm-hmm.
care, things like that. But medically, from somebody that is medically trained and has your background, to help people with through mental struggles, challenges, conditions. What what is the message that we should be telling people to overcome that?
Okay. Well, the first thing is that programs like Real Talk is creating awareness. That's the first thing. Because if you're not aware of what's going on, well, you can respond. So the first thing we need to do is to create awareness. Some persons call it psychological first aid. You need to create awareness where someone says, okay, oh, that's what this is about. This is how I feel when someone says that. No, so that's where you start, because if, like I said, if you don't know about it, you know that you feel uncomfortable. You know that you wish the person hadn't said that to you, but you are not internalizing it. You're not seeing it as an abusive statement. You're just saying, well, he has my best interest and he really wants me to come up to another level. Okay. So the first thing is becoming self-aware,
Yeah.
right?
And I think
Then-
sometimes we do. Like I can say that from the emotional and verbal abuse that I encountered as a young 20 something
Yeah.
was the self-awareness came because of that uncomfortable feeling.
Yes.
I was able to say, I don't like the way this feels. I
Right.
don't, I've never seen this before in any relationships that I've seen. I know I don't know the behind the scenes of what marriage is and what it's
Mm-hmm.
supposed to be. But I know, what it was, that forward facing part of the relationship, but this doesn't feel right. And I think that was me becoming self aware, as you say, and
Okay.
saying, what, that feeling that I have does not feel right. And that feeling I don't want.
Right. So when you
I
when you when that becomes, yeah, sorry, go on, Beverly. Yeah.
No, I was going to say that the reason why I brought up uh, parenting and childhood experiences is because oftentimes the way we talk to others is the way we talk to ourselves. And it's the way we learned. Now, we spend so much time telling ourselves, I need to change this, or I am stupid and I need to get uh, to be a little more intelligent, or rather than, hey, I'm an intelligent person and this is a stupid act that I'm committing. You know, what it is, we tell our children that they are lazy rather than being able to sit that child down and say, listen, I know that you are a very responsible person. And I am expecting you to act responsible.
Mhm.
And what we do is take the same thing that we learn as a child, the same way we speak to ourselves and speak to our spouses or our partners. And it causes great disunity among us, and hurt and pain. And this is what self-awareness does. Self-awareness helps us to understand that words have an effect on us. And if we use words in the appropriate way, then we can create champions. But if we use them in an abusive way, then we can create a lot of victims.
Hmm.
Yes,
Yeah.
Doc?
Absolutely. And then I want to move on from that and talk about unhealthy arguments. You know,
Mm,
we in relationships we have disagreements. Now, and here's the thing. Because you have disagreements, you don't need to be disagreeable. Okay? So you have disagreements. That will happen because you have two individual different personalities coming from different backgrounds, having different levels of self-awareness, having different educational achievement, etc., etc. Difference. Okay. And the irony of it all is that it is the difference that attracted you to the person.
mm,
But now you later find out that there are some differences that you find unattractive in the person.
mm,
Okay.
mm,
So, you have a disagreement over something, a decision making process. There's some disagreement. I mean, it happens, it's part of life. And then you get into arguments. Now, that's a different story. You can have a disagreement, but you don't have to argue. But you get into arguments. And then that in itself is not bad. But then these arguments become unhealthy. How do they become unhealthy? Because as the disagreement progresses, you would find that one person's voice goes up,
mm,
the other person's voice goes up to meet that other person. So now you
mm,
have two persons with raised voices. And
mm,
when the voices can no longer convey the intensity of the emotion that a person is experiencing, they then go into making threatening or demeaning remarks. Okay, so you have start off nicely, disagreeing easily, and then the disagreement becomes aggressive, and then you start using aggressive comment. You know, someone even said, I mean, come on, listen, I can't continue to talk about this. I mean, this is stupid. This is ridiculous. I just think that you have no understanding of what I've been saying. I've been telling you this, and I mean, look, this is stupid. So start to introduce negative comments and stuff, and then the voice is still up, and then with raised voices in an aggressive tone, then it moves into another level where you yell, you threaten, you make demeaning remarks. You might even go so far as to say you're just like your mother, or this or that. And as soon as you slip into those areas where you bring in other family members and backgrounds and all sorts of things, it it gets really messy. You might even be in an argument with a partner, and he has the mindset that I need to win this argument because I am the man, okay? Or I am the woman, and I need to argue. I need to win this. So you have this zero sum mentality where I win, you lose, because my ego is tied up with winning, okay? And also, I need to take control, and you need to just stay down and because I'm in charge. So the argument becomes unhealthy in which one person wins and the other person loses. Now that can be very damaging. And so it's like it's like in the animal world where two animals are fighting, and they fight to the point where one runs away because he admits, no, I've lost now. And he doesn't come back. Okay? He runs away, he leaves, and he doesn't come back. Okay, that might be appropriate in the animal world. But if you were to transition that into the human world, into relationships, if you ran away and you didn't come back, then that would have serious consequences for the relationship. But in a way, when you keep being beaten down by a partner who wants to win everything or wants to make a decision, what the person said, well, what color should this wall be in? And you say, well, I think cream would be nice. I said, no, cream is a horrible color. I think we should do a light blue. You should light blue? Oh, that's horrible. And it just goes up and up. And then in the end, one person realizes, well, I'm going to lose this. I say, listen, I'm the one that's bringing in the money. Or I am the one that's going to be spending the money. So this is the color I want. Okay. And I mean, I'm telling you about factual things that I know about and then one partner uh, acquiesces. Okay. All right. You want light blue then? Okay, light blue. And this kind of behavior is carried on into other areas, where it comes to decision making, where it comes to buying things for the home. One person prefers this in house, another person prefers that, and because he has the upper hand in terms of finance, he buys what he wants, you know, and in fact, that person gradually drifts away. They move away when their spouse comes and say, well, okay, so what? They said, no, you make the decision. They stop making the decisions. They stop. They say, well, what's the point? There's no point me making a decision here or even giving my view because my view is going to be undermined by his view. No, seriously, tell me what appliance would you like? So, no, whatever you buy is okay. You get it? And that person gradually drifts away from making decisions, from playing a role in the home, and all of that impacts them because they begin to feel that they have no value. They feel unappreciated. They begin to feel, well, what am I doing here? Why am I in this relationship that I'm not being, I can't even say anything. So, unhealthy arguments can have a very damaging impact on relationships. So we have to be very careful in our interaction with our partners or with others, how we what we say to them, because it can be quite damaging. All right. So do you want to make a comment before I continue? Yeah.
What do you say um, are some tips for
But
healthy
no,
communication?
no,
What are you
yeah.
seeing missing from healthy communication?
What am I missing from a healthy communication? No, I missed.
Yeah.
I did.
When you often have couples coming to you, what is it that they're often missing? What is the reason that they're not having healthy communication? How do they overcome that?
Well, they don't have healthy communication because one person believes that he knows best, he or she knows best for the relationship. Um, Interestingly, it becomes their relationship, not our relationship.
Mm,
See, anytime you're in a relationship and you think it's your relationship, or you think this is somebody else's relationship. Let me give you an example. Uh, and a parent, let me start like that. A parent would, in traditional Caribbean homes, um, you grow up in a home, you have your parents, you are interacting with your parents, there is an argument, you flee from the encounter, you go to your room, and let's say you made the mistake and you locked the door,
mhm,
or something like that, and your parent would come and say, "You open up," and you refuse to open the door. That can have serious implications for your physical health, and also for your verbal, because you are told quite quickly that this is not your house,
mhm,
right?
mhm,
You don't do anything here, so come on, open up. Um, and so we have situations where we as men tend to have an attitude of ownership. Ownership. Now, you might discount that, but if you go back in time when women were considered as chattel, you would understand where this comes from.
mhm,
Okay, I mean, you did what the man said. The man owned you.
mhm,
You did things according to his behest. Do that, do this, do this. You weren't allowed to protest. You didn't even have support if you protested. Your parents, your families would tell you, no, 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 you're not. That's not the way to treat your husband. That's not the way to behave. You're rude. You're out of order. You need to do this. So the woman ends up being victimized by the fact that he's in charge. So we own relationships. But if we were to change the whole mindset and we say, but this relationship is about us, it's a
mhm.
difference,
Oh yeah.
because one person believes that the other one is acting selfishly or acting independently. So if I act independently or selfishly, that means I exclude you. Okay. So one of the things that is important is to get the partner, whichever one, to understand that what is this relationship about? It's about the harmonious working out of issues between the two of you. Communication is critical to this. And the way that you are communicating is not enhancing the relationship, it's damaging the relationship. And therefore, we need to look at the way that you are speaking to each other, the way you're thinking about each other. And I find I like to start from that premise. It's probably because my conceptual framework is a cognitive one, and so I start from the, the, the basis of trying to understand each other. Understanding is wonderful. If I understand you and you understand me, we can achieve a lot together. But
Mhm.
when there's no understanding or there's limited understanding um, between individuals, whether they're in a relationship in terms of domestic relationship, or whether they're in a relationship in terms of work, or just in a normal casual relationship. Just think you have your girlfriend and you all go out and you said, what, I shouldn't be eating ice cream. And she says, come on, a little ice cream isn't going to cause you any harm. And you said, no, well, I'm a diabetic, so I really can't eat ice cream. And she said, but how can a little ice cream or do you right there, there's a misunderstanding because you're not thinking about my well-being. You're thinking about getting me to do something that you're doing so that you can feel good that we're doing it. So
Okay.
when there's misunderstanding in relationships, things begin to fall apart. So I try to get them to have a common goal or objective. What is the common goal or objective? um, that you're aiming for. I let them know that you will have disagreements. You will have disagreements, but how do we mediate those disagreements? It's critical. And
My way or the highway. No, I'm just kidding.
yeah, and
Okay.
the chap who is supposed to be the guru on relationships is a man, Goffman, and he has all of these different laboratories. And if you can't come to some understanding, I
Mm-hmm.
appreciate you. You appreciate the differences in the relationship and you accommodate my shortfalls, I accommodate yours, and we work towards common goals. Then you're gonna have a
Mm-hmm.
collision course. You have a collision course.
Yeah.
Yes. Yes.
In my head, I keep saying it's either working out or I'm out. Like,
Well, well, I think, well, no, no, I can't subscribe to that one. Can't jump in and out of relationships. Relationships, you have to work
I
at
know
them.
they take work. Yeah,
Yeah, you have to
yeah.
work at
But
and
and
It
that's the
does.
thing. When I say that, right? Like, either it's working out or I'm out. It takes
Mm-hmm.
two willing candidates to work it
yes,
out.
It does.
And
yes.
It does.
so, uh, yeah. But I mean, if it ever gets to the point where it's not working out, I'm out. I'm
Yeah,
out.
But
I'll
yeah,
try counseling. I'll go to the ends of, and try everything in a relationship when it matters.
yes.
Uh, those significant relationships are worth it. But there's a point I think sometimes where we have to say, you know what? Let's cut our losses because
and get
your
out.
subconscious
Mm-hmm.
background and your family upbringing, we are not equally yoked. I should have learned my lesson and saw all the red flags, but I'm gonna have to find something better for me.
Right.
Sometimes
And
we
this
have to.
and this tells volume to because listen, when you come out of a relationship, it is so hard. It is so hard. You are already bonded in so many ways. So we
Yeah.
were speaking about Doc mentioned something earlier on, and that is self-awareness, being aware. It is so important for us to be aware even before we get into these kinds of relationships, even before we get married. It
Yes.
is so important.
Yeah.
I encourage persons, get counseling for yourself before you even
Absolutely.
think about getting counseling
Love yourself before
with
you
a
think
partner.
you're gonna love
Make
someone else,
sure
because
that you
you.
are whole. Make sure that you are whole, because when you doing this program, I have to do so much research. And You find that you can go on YouTube and you can find out things that you can see from early o'clock, what would cause you to be, what would show that a person is an abuser.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm.
These are things that we can go and familiarize ourselves with, right? So that when we get into a relationship, we already know the signs to look for.
Yes. Yes.
But
Yeah,
Just
it's
being
very
older and wiser,
important to
Beverly.
know.
Remember when we were younger? You remember?
there is a
Yeah,
We
there
were
is
so accommodating. Oh, this person loves me.
right.
Oh, I'm gonna give you a
Mm,
chance. I love you too, right? But those red flags, we're older and
mm-hmm.
wiser now.
yeah,
We're older.
Right.
I find that as aspect of the conversation interesting because I'm thinking to myself, okay, you're telling people go on YouTube. In my day, there was no YouTube.
True. It was the Dewey
Oh,
Decimal System.
but I
There
also,
was no YouTube, you know, and so you got into relationships, into
yeah,
relationships
and, and
without
these things
any
were,
guidance.
people didn't used to speak.
Yeah,
People didn't used to speak about these things long time. A lot of it was taboo.
yeah,
People didn't speak it. But today we have so much information out there,
yes,
so
yes,
much information, and it's up to us to go and get the information so that when we get ourselves into a relationship, it can be a lasting one that we are not broken at the end of it. Because to come back from that kind of abuse is it's very challenging, very challenging.
Yeah.
yeah. I
Yeah, because I'm
it,
sorry.
no,
I'm
no, it's
sorry. I
okay.
just wanted to really quickly say that when you go through emotional and verbal abuse in a relationship and step away
Mhm.
from that, that is also damaging as if it was your parent, like
Yeah,
Doc was
Mhm.
saying. It affects you psychologically. And then
Yes,
you need to work with someone like Doc to get yourself to a place where you are whole.
yeah.
yes. And I
It,
want to say he's a great doctor. Out of all the therapists that I've been to, he was one that I felt that I had the most and the best experience and
Aw.
recovery. I remember, while we were talking right through, I keep remembering this. I remembered at one point in time when I was ill, and I was afraid of losing my children. And I went to doc. I had therapy that day, and I said to him, you have to speak about your thoughts. And I said to him, I'm afraid of losing my children. And he said, what is the percentage of you losing your children? And I said to him, well, it's a great percentage because I basically lose them before. And he said, but what is the percentage that you won't lose them? I said, okay, well, yes, there's a percentage that I won't lose them also. And he said, so why are you thinking and talking to yourself and being afraid of losing them rather than holding on to the fact that you can have them?
Yes.
And Doc, this is the positive way in which we can use words to affect or effect change in our life and in others by choosing to see the positive aspect of it rather than the negative aspect of it. Yes, Doc, what you were going to say.
no, I was going to say that when we're going through trials and tribulation, the
Mm-hmm.
negative is in our face. It's
Mm-hmm.
threatening. Threatening. It creates insecurity. We feel helpless. You know,
Mm.
we are covered in this veil of negativity,
Mhm.
and therefore sometimes we have to begin to think, well, is this factual? Because we're working on assumptions, you assume, you don't know for sure, but you assume the worst possible outcome.
Mhm.
And so the mind just dwells on that. And so sometimes when you say to a person, but how factual is that? I mean, do you have facts to support that this is going to happen? Or is this just a feeling? A feeling is a feeling. Feelings go and feelings come. But
Mhm.
so sometimes you have to intrude into the thinking pattern and just deposit a
Mhm.
thought that is different from the one that you're holding.
Yes.
That one thought
Yes.
that is like a raft that can take you to the other side of the shore,
Mhm.
Yes.
side of the
You,
river.
you choose your
Yeah.
thoughts, and your
Mhm.
thoughts become your feelings. And
Hmm.
then
Right.
based on the way you feel, you create
Becomes your
your
action.
actions.
Right.
And those actions affect the results in your
Becomes
life.
habit.
Yeah.
Mhm. And habits
Yeah,
becomes habit. Reveal
yeah.
your character. Yes. 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 So
It all
words.
starts with a thought and words. Yes.
Mhm.
Sorry.
Right.
Keep
Okay.
going.
I just want, we're coming near to our 1 hour. I just want to talk a bit about um, the other things we could talk about. I want to talk a bit about manipulation
Mhm.
in our interaction with partners. And this occurs when a person repeatedly puts pressure on another one. And this is often very subtle.
Mhm.
Um, and this may allow them to order someone or something about in a way that they get control. So for example, um some your partner can say, listen, if you really care about me, you would do this. Now when
Mhm.
someone dumps that into your head, you now have you have to stop, and you have to think, but I do care about you. um
Mhm.
But now you're putting me in an awkward situation. If I don't do this, it means I don't care about you. And so you don't want your partner to think that you don't care about him or her. So you have a like a psychological, compromise. What do I do? Do
Mhm.
I stick to what my gut feel tells me I shouldn't do? Or do I go along with this person who I love and support him in some act that I know is
Mhm.
illegal, unfair, damaging, involves behaviors that I'm not accustomed to, etc. And I know for a fact I had a client, and she was constantly doing things that you can't even that are not cannot be said on this forum. She was constantly doing things and engaging in behaviors that this person wanted, because this person was always dumping into her head, you don't really love me. Now, because other people or other persons who love me did this, so now you're behaving in this way. I don't think you really care about me. And because they already had a high level of emotional insecurity, and they were afraid, the person was afraid of losing this person who gave them everything, who gave them whatever they wanted, to satisfy their needs in terms of resources. You want to go here, here's the money. You want to go there, here's the thing. So so now they were put in a situation where, to get their partner to think that they didn't want to do what he or she asked them to do, would be tantamount to saying, I don't care about you. Because And that's all manipulation.
It sounds almost like a PIMP.
Well, but if
Giving me
you
money and telling me what I can and can't do. And if you don't do this, you won't get anything. That's not good.
well,
It's definitely manipulative. Yeah.
but you see, if you but this happens in legitimate relationships between um, husband and wife and partners, and they're not PIPing, they're just wanting you to come along and support them in some act, um, and
But if it
you,
goes against your values, though,
yeah, but that's the thing. But now you have to weigh up, okay, this is my value, this is what I've been raised, this is my belief system. But now you're in a marital relationship and someone wants to do X or Y. And you're putting these two things up for judgment.
in the US, that's divorce.
No, no, people don't go like that. No, they don't do that.
I
They
know
tend,
that's not reality, right? Like, but for a lot of people, it could be. But
yeah,
for a lot of people, it is a decision to be weighed.
yeah.
But your
You
parents tell you, I raised you with these values. This is the way you should go. Do not,
right.
detract from it.
But you go the way of least resistance. You
Yeah.
go the way of least resistance because you've been living with this man or woman. Um, this is someone you love, you care about. You can't imagine not having them with you, and your values. You say to yourself, okay, all right. This, and you say, well, this is. I just do it this once. I'll just do it this once. I won't do it again. You get it? So you can rationalize your values. Most people do that. They can rationalize your values. Don't steal. Okay, but you're hungry. And they're in front of you. You look around this, but no one's looking at you. I could take this thing. So you rationalize the fact that I really do care about him. I don't want to lose him, so I'm going to do it. And then you deal with your conscience later. You can sage that somehow. But so you get it, and one doesn't realize that once you've done it once, you can do it twice. You can do it three
Right.
times.
Exactly.
Yeah, So sometimes in relationships, one person manipulates the other for the self.
Divorce. Sorry.
That is easier said than done.
You know what? My mom has the saying, right? Men don't need women, and women don't need men. What they need is MONEY. Because if you have that, you don't have to tolerate anything.
You think money is a solution?
Money allows you to walk away and find a new one that's better.
But I am not of that persuasion because money is not a cure-all.
It is
Uh,
not. But if I'm going to have to deal with this, if I'm going to have to deal with my values being challenged, I might as well be comfortable.
okay. For how long?
Until I find the next one. I know, but seriously, I don't want people to think that you should endure abuse or manipulation or, that's normal. I want people to think that you can have a relationship where you are not manipulated, where you are equally respected and you are equally yoked. You looked for the red flags, and if they challenge your values, that you can hold them to your value standard. That's the relationship that people should be looking for and working towards, especially when they're going to counseling or just in day-to-day life. I think that, if a man is in a relationship with a woman that is telling him, I want you to do XYZ, and he's uncomfortable with it, then he should be able to say, no, I'm pulling you up to my standards.
Mhm.
This is who we are. This is what we stand for. And in our relationship, we do not tolerate that. I'm not going to let you manipulate me. And the same of a woman, especially now that we do have equal rights. Um, I'm not going to allow you to think that you're going to utilize my body or to take my money and allocate it and I have no say or whatever it may be. Um, that there is a level of respect within a relationship. I don't want people to think like,
Right.
well, see,
Mm.
this is the doctor. And I'm not saying that you're saying this, but I'm thinking from people thinking on the opposite end of the spectrum, thinking, okay, well, this is normal. Like, we can work through
Mm.
this. I might manipulate you, and that's okay. It's not okay. It might happen. It might happen from time to time that people will test that in a relationship, and that might not be the reason to end a relationship. But
Mhm.
if that manipulation is utilized as an ultimatum,
Okay.
and
Mhm.
for me, it's the end of a relationship. Like for
Mm.
me, that is a breaking point. That's it. Like if I can't be respected, then what you're telling me if
And
you're trying to manipulate me is that you don't love me.
Yeah,
mhm.
I,
What I
I
And I
have
just
love me.
discovered,
I love you,
what
but I love me more, and I will always love me more.
what I
I
have
am.
discovered though is that, all right, I remember when I had now gotten married, there was this incident where my husband bawled at me. He yelled at me, and I told him about it. I said, "Listen, mm-mm, I am not going to have you shouting at me because I am not a child." And I did not have that problem again. Well, except
Mhm.
for when we had screaming match of arguments, but that way he felt I did something wrong and he shouted at me. And whereas I am hearing you and I'm all for what you're saying, Christine, we also want to let women know too, and men. If you stand up, especially at the beginning of your relationship, if you
Mhm.
make that stand, a lot of times it makes a whole lot of difference. It really and truly does. Because what I discovered, the things that I said I can deal with, it's okay, it's just this little thing, and it's just that little thing, and I left it. And it's just this little thing, and I left it. And what happened? It multiplied. And that little thing, when you put them all together, the weight became so heavy that at a point in time in the relationship, I couldn't bear the burden anymore.
Mhm.
And
Mhm.
so, one thing I would love to say to our viewers or persons listening from the very beginning, do not accept things and say, okay, I can work through this. Make sure that you know that you have boundaries and those boundaries are being met from the very beginning of the
Absolutely.
relationship. You are not a child. You can give an opinion. You are not to be manipulated. If you find that you don't like how I dress and you know that this is how I dressed when you pick me up, then and you want to give me an ultimatum of you walking out, then you will have to walk out because you have to respect that this is who I am. I am not saying because there are times too when we can sit down and we can talk it over. I
Oh
remember
yeah. Oh yeah.
when I when I got married, I loved wearing short tops. I loved my bed. I had no stomach. Now I'm fighting with this. But I had absolutely no stomach, and I loved my belly outside. And when I got married and we moved, my husband sat me down and he said to me, he said, "Listen, we are living now in an era where there are lots of prostitutes. And if you dress the way you are accustomed, they will not know the difference between you and the prostitutes. And we had a good conversation. Okay, I understood that. And I said, fine, I am all willing to dress differently. So we can have that kind of a communication where we
Yeah,
sit down and discuss things and say, okay,
absolutely.
well, what you're saying is making sense. But
And
we
that's out of
must
love,
know,
right? That was out of love, caring,
right?
respect, protection, all of the things that you would expect out of relationship. Now, if it
Mm-hmm.
was the flip side of that, and his manipulation of you was, I want to see you dressing like those women, and I
Mm,
need you to expose more skin, and you're not comfortable, then what? Is that the moment that's what I'm saying, is that is something that for me is a non-negotiable. If I'm uncomfortable with that and
right.
it's not in alignment with my values, no, like I'm
Why,
not doing that. I don't care. Like I love me more.
why
That
can't
Mm-hmm.
you, why don't you look at it this way and say, okay, this is something that he's having difficulty in understanding, and let us this is something for further discussion. So it has to be, I think I would say, okay, uh let's discuss this further, and I would want to interrogate why what does it do for him to see me dress in this way. um
maybe it's something that is an outfit for home, but
yeah,
not
yeah, no,
an
you see,
outfit for public.
if you flip it the other way and say that you like dressing sassy, and you meet someone who wants the dress down to your ankle. That's what I'm saying now. So let's flip it the other way.
Hmm.
He but he wants you to dress with your dress length down to your ankle, and you're like,
Mm-hmm. No.
no, that's a 40 dress style.
Mm-hmm.
I mean,
Right.
I look like an old woman, and people start saying to you, but what's wrong with you, Christine? What's wrong? You're dressing so strange. So people around you really kind of like, and in the end, you get enough courage to say, well, my husband liked me to dress like this. He says that, as a Christian woman, I need to cover up. Okay, now, now, uh, you see, these things for me are things that we can discuss. I mean, because unless it's a religious prescriptive, okay, where we're covering up is part of a religion and we all belong to that religion, and
Hmm.
this is it. You have to wear, like our Muslim brothers and sisters, they dress like that. And once you get into the religion, then you should know this is the dress style, this is the philosophy, this is right. So if it is no point getting into that, a relationship with a person of that persuasion and then trying to get them to change to some other dress style you want. I mean, that's
Right.
like, that's really, over the top, because you know that they're constrained by their religious belief and practices and so on. But
Hmm.
in a relationship that is not circumscribed by some religious practice, then we can talk. We can talk about it. I want to know, when I dress and I show a lot of flesh, what does that do for you? I mean, do you? I mean, why would you want me to look like that? I need to find out why you want me to look like that. What is it about me dressing like that that satisfies you, or makes you get excited? What is it? Because there has to be some reason
You got to
that.
get to the root cause.
Right, right. And I'm saying that sometimes we need to get there, because if you came to me, that's where I would take you, because I want to know what's driving that desire. It might be something else that has happened to you in the past that caused you to desire that person. Look at, I mean, I saw a lady in church. She's well endowed, and she has a skin tight dress. And I'm like,
Mm,
what? What is it about her husband that he doesn't see what I am seeing? It's obvious that what he is seeing, he likes because she
mm,
dresses that all the time, and
mm,
she is well built. You know what I'm saying?
mm,
So as obviously he likes to see her like that,
Mhm.
but it's
mm,
like in the church dressed like that. People are like, okay, what's happening here? Okay, but I don't think anyone has mustered enough courage to speak to her about it because they say, well, he's happy about it, and she's
mm,
fronting everything. How do we deal with that? Of course, the most more conservative person would be wizzy and stuff. But the point I'm making is that um, I don't know because I haven't spoken to her whether she doesn't like it or she's doing it because he likes it or he doesn't comment on it because she likes it, and if he comments she would be unhappy and he doesn't want an unhappy wife, and he just accepts it, but I mean it's like patently obvious that about her dress style. um so I'd like to know what is the thought process that's driving that. um
mm.
that you really have to go there before you decide I'm out of here.
Well,
You know?
yeah.
Yeah.
If the cause is that you are not protecting, providing, professing, respecting,
Right.
I
So
know the
we
value
we
of this.
advocate.
This person right here is valuable.
Mm,
Yes.
so we
And
so we advocate.
go on.
So we
Yes.
advocate for communication, sitting down,
Yes.
discussing.
Yes.
But
Yes.
we also have to agree, though, that there are times when you do not get that discussion. And I can only speak really about my experience. I was told uh, that the husband is the head, he represents God, and he is allowed to make rules for the wife. So,
Yeah.
whatever the man says, whether it is right or whether it is wrong, the woman is supposed to go with it, and it was not up for discussion because that is it. No, when you are faced with a situation like that, when it's not up for discussion, then what?
Well, but
You
in a
move to
situation,
the US.
no,
I'm like, oh, girl,
no, there's too much corona. There's too much
no
corona there. We're
rules in
not
my
going to the
house.
US.
What? We are equal.
No,
Yeah.
you
I
see,
get that though. I know about the head and the
yeah,
neck,
you really
but
have to. You really have to have people like that. You really need to have an intervention. You need to have. Listen, this is where the good Lord can transform individuals from, I don't know, from the worst emotional state to something amazingly different. Transformation takes place here.
absolutely.
Renewing of the mind. That's
Yes.
what it's about.
Yes.
So I believe that I support you all in terms of things getting to some extremes that you definitely have to push back. And if you push back and you get pushed forward, then you need to, you push back where you are, but it pushes you back, then you need to have boundaries. I really believe in that. Okay.
Mhm,
And then and there's obviously a point in time where you have to say enough is enough. I accept that.
mhm,
But um you want, when you step away from a relationship, especially when it has children and all kind of different appendages in it, that you have given it your best shot, that you have not, you know
No stone
avoid.
left unturned.
Yeah, you can feel, well, um I've given it my best shot, and I tried,
mhm,
and obviously I can't do any more. I can't do any more, so I had to, look, I had to give up, you know
mhm,
and because it's interesting that with the awareness that we are recommending, there's also the fact that we need to know where to go to get help.
Yes.
That's really
Mm-hmm.
important. That okay, we
Mm-hmm.
become aware. Where do I go to get help? Can I take him along with me so that we can both benefit? Because people come from all kind of different backgrounds. Sometimes it's not their fault. It's
Mm-hmm.
just
Yes.
circumstances.
Yeah.
Circumstances happen to them,
Mm-hmm.
and you know. So I always believe that if a partner is willing to invest in the relationship, things
Must
can
be
change.
willing. They
Yeah, they're
must be willing.
willing. Yeah, they're
Yeah.
willing. You can't do it on your own. That's the point.
Mm-hmm.
You cannot do it on your own. But if that
A
person,
relationship is a two-way street.
yeah, if that person is
Mm-hmm.
of the persuasion, well, look, what can we do to enhance our relationship? Sometimes you have to take them back to what it is that brought them together. Why did we get together? We got
Mm-hmm.
together because of ABC. Because over time, those things drift, and now all you're left with is the problems.
Hmm.
You're you're left with the conflicting, confrontational issues, and you move so far away from what is it that you liked about him or you loved about him before all of this
Hmm.
mess took place.
Yeah. At some point, you loved each other,
Mm-hmm.
right?
Yes.
So sometimes we have to bring that back to the table and work with that as a way of saying,
Mm-hmm.
"Hey, how did you drift that far? How did you, the nail took, you nail and you're way over here on the left. What happened?" And you find that something happened and it wasn't mediated properly. It wasn't spoken about properly. There was a lot of hurt that one person kept inside, and now this thing, something happened and it topped it out. The straw that broke the camel's back, that kind of thing. And because you've been carrying this pain and you were afraid to talk about it, and the other partner doesn't know about it, doesn't know about your insecurities, you never spoke about it, and you just endured till bam. Then So as a therapist, you need to try and help. I'm not saying that you can help all relationships because sometimes it's good that you separate because it's just because it ain't gonna work. Just the people are so far apart, or the relationship is so destructive that hey, you know. But I think that's a point that one should reach after one has ensured that you've taken the necessary support that is out there.
Thank you, Doc.
Good.
Yes. I allowed for us to go over the hour tonight because I felt that the discussion really started a little late, and Real Talk is all about discussion. And Christine, do you have any last, well, let's start with Doc. Doc, do you have any last words that you want to give us as we close up this forum tonight?
Well, I just want to say that when when individuals come together uh, to form relationships, they do it out of a desire for mutual benefit for
Mm,
both of them. And therefore that needs to be uppermost in their minds. And therefore, when things happen, when they're having problems in their relationship, they need to try to seek assistance, whether it's your clergy, whether it's your parents. These are just sort of frontline people, whether it's your parents or your siblings or whoever. You need to seek assistance to help you to mediate the challenges that you face. I also want to say that, there once you're in a relationship, there will be challenges. What make these challenges problematic is when we don't seek the help or assistance timely, then it becomes a problem. And therefore, I would like to suggest that, um, I know some people don't like counseling, but you have your pastor, you have your priest, you have your critical, um, person, significant others in your life that you can sit down and talk to. You need to seek some sort of assistance so that you can begin to dialogue and to try and fix the problems. Because God is good. He wants us to have meaningful relationships, and marriage or is one of those fundamental institutions that God has established, and He wants to work with us. And I think if we start from that perspective, then I think that He would give us the wisdom and the direction and the guidance to seek help where it can be found. Thank you.
Sorry, Christine. Thank you very much, Doc. And it's always a pleasure to have you on with us. As
Thank
you
you.
can see, guys, he has become a member of the Real Talk Forum. And it's just such a pleasure that he takes the time off. This evening, he was like extremely tired because his day started so early. And he said, no, I'm going to come on anyway. Because I told him, if you think that you're a bit too tired to come on, you can go ahead and rest. He said, no, I'm going to come on. And that is a sacrifice because he does care about us and the persons who are viewing this video. And he wants us to be self aware as to the effects that words have on us. Yeah, Christine?
Well, thank you, Doc, for being here. And Beverly, thank you for this platform. It is very good for us to be able to share some knowledge, some wisdom, and inspire others to really work on being the best version of themselves. So I
Hmm.
appreciate you both for that. Um, I agree with everything Doc says, and I'm I'm halfway joking and halfway serious when I say, you know, when the respect is gone, when the love is not there anymore, sometimes it's time for a divorce. Divorce. But that is the last option, right? It's not the first
It
option.
is.
So when I say that, I'm not saying that, as oh, it just is not working and just give up, right? But when it becomes abusive and when that time is, do not be fearful. Be resilient. Be courageous. Move forward. You still have value. You still have purpose. And you will be okay. God takes care of the birds and the animals, and He will take care of you as well. Um,
Amen.
so, yeah, that's what I wanted to say. The book has been delayed. I Choose Joy is coming out soon. We're working on the cover. It has to. It has to it has to be right. So that's all I'll say on that. We're waiting for the cover, and we're looking forward to. I am praying for a forward from someone special. So yes, you can reach out to me if you need me at kristenbrook.com, or you
Mhm.
can also email me at kristenbrook@kristenbrook.com, or the core at kristenbrook.com. Thank you.
And tell
Thank
them
you.
why are they reaching out to you? What do you do?
I'm sorry. Oh, thank you. So I am the resiliency queen. I help people that have gone through a traumatic event and grief to overcome that trauma and grief by helping them stand in their power and believe in their magnificence so they may reign in their power. And just like me, choose joy.
Amen.
All
Thank you.
right. Amen. I want
Yes.
to begin by saying, Dr. Clark, once again, as I said before, he is a cognitive therapist. He is the dean of a university, that is USC. He is also, uh, oh Lord, he teaches an, an
Packed with
instructor.
a
He is
lot.
also an instructor at the university. He teaches behavioral science. And he is a wonderful person that you can reach out to if you need help. He will help you to understand the power of words because that's what cognitive therapy is about. It's about understanding the power of words and how to channel your thoughts, how to manage them so that you can have a better outcome and a better result in your life and in your relationship. So, if you want to get on to Doc, you can speak to either myself or Christine, and we will help you get in contact with Dr. Clark. He
Absolutely.
is well certified and he has many years of experience. And I'm telling you from experience myself that he can and will help you to become a better person. So once again, thank you, Doc.
Thank you.
We want you to know the importance of wholeness. Words has a great effect on your life, on our life. And it begins with parenting, how we speak to our children, how we communicate with them, is what going to teach them how to communicate in the future. So instead of calling your children lazy and stupid and ignorant, sit down and let them know that they are responsible. Sit down and let them know that they are intelligent and let them know what is the intelligent decision to make, what is the responsible decision to make, and what you are expecting of them. Praise them when they do something good. Let them understand their individuality. It is important for them to embrace their individuality and their uniqueness because these are the important things to start off a relationship with. Understanding that my opinion counts, understanding that you are an individual getting into a relationship and you like what you like and you believe what you believe and you stand for what you believe. Understanding that when persons speak to you in a certain manner, it's not the right thing. So that you do not have to wait until your relationship is going bad to have to deal with these issues because you are aware of it beforehand. And to those of us who are in relationships that is not succeeding or we are submitted to some sort of abuse, get help. Sometimes it doesn't reach to the place of divorce, but separation is also a good thing. Separate yourself from that abuse and get help. If the both parties are willing to get help, the relationship will get help. Make sure that you do everything in your power, and divorce is the last resort. But I'm promising you, if you subject yourself to abuse for a long time, you will have a lot of work to do on yourself. So, from early, get the help that is needed. And when you're speaking to yourself, speak to yourself positively. It is very, very important to speak positive things to yourself. When you speak positive things to yourself, then it is a greater possibility that you would only allow persons in your space who will speak positive to you and address you in a positive way. I am Beverly Briggs, the founder of Pearl Foundation. Pearl Foundation was established to deal with abuse and to help prevent abuse by bringing our self awareness and awareness to these issues that we face. So I have a page. You can find me at Beverly Briggs, or you can look for Pearl Foundation, or you can connect with me on Real Talk. You can join the group. I want you to remember this conversation. This program is about conversation, and you are encouraged to join our conversation by leaving your comments. Do have a blessed one. It was really, really awesome spending this time with you. Till next week, Tuesday, when we continue our conversation. Bye for now.
Thank you. Bye bye.
Bye.
Bye. Oh
We're
boy,
still live.
we're still alive.